TikTok, and there we go.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have your hands. Some more. Just give some more.
Well, hello.
Howdy.
and welcome to my whiskey den. Two-thirds of it. Pat, it will be in the chat, so you can ask him questions there. I think he's either too embarrassed or something. I don't know. But here we are, my whiskey den, and we'll get all the good stuff out of the way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification to find out when new episodes are coming out, which are usually Monday nights live. Forward and share with your friends and family. Comment down below if you're watching us after the fact, or interact with the nice people in the chat because they are good people. Speaking of good people, we are proud partners with the Bar Cart Co-op, which is a collection of friends who create content for the whiskey and other distilled spirits public. The granddaddy show of Bar Cart Co-op is Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson, that can be had Thursday, Friday, Saturday when they release their new episodes. A very deep dive nerd conversation with people in the distilling industry and distilling adjacent, such as authors or other folk, or even let's see, it's been still makers. Oh, geez, I know. This is where you draw blanks. What's that?
There were a couple farmers on there that grew.
That's right. Oh, yeah. The grain peddlers.
Yeah, there you go.
And speaking of nerdy stuff with Alan, One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, where he will answer people's questions and put things to the test, not just grains, not just mash bills, also equipment. And he is answering stuff all the time as he gets a few questions on there. So it's pretty sporadic. Just subscribe to it. You will not be disappointed. It's pretty interesting. Even for me, as someone who's not a distiller, you learn some really interesting things, not just from the questions, but from the answers themselves. The classiest and sexiest show of the bunch, Bourbon Turntable, coming to you live on Wednesday. Not live, I'm sorry. It comes to you on Wednesdays through all of the platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube. And this is Kevin Rose and Drew Crawley sharing the love of whiskey with the love of music, and doing an interview form. They've done many long two-part interviews. I can't remember if they've done a three-parter. They've had some three-peat guests, I believe, but they've done some really nice two-parters, like with Todd Leopold, Nancy Fraley, Steve Gorman. They just had now I can't. I'm having one of these moments. I cannot remember his first name. Whiskey in My Wedding Ring. David Levine had a really nice show with him last week, and then they got into a discussion on transparency. But it's a really great show. They have good music discussions and good whiskey. And there's another one. If you have Ghost, you have everything, which gets into the paranormal. Not just the paranormal and spirits and distilling, but in our world around us. There are some very interesting stories throughout history. And Alan's got a really great way of bringing those out. Alan and Kim, his lovely wife, Kim. And also don't forget Lil Penny. If you have Ghost, you have everything. It just wrapped up, I think, season 2. And that one is on Spotify. So look that one up if you would. So here we are. We've got Bourbon Turntable said the Dark Side of the Moon show is this week, and I was actually part of that one with Alan, and that was a lot of fun. It made me take the time to re-listen to Dark Side of the Moon, which I did multiple times. We had a really nice conversation. So Mitch, how are you on International Whiskey Day?
Living that dream. Mildly tired. Right. How about yourself?
I am about the same, actually. Sleep was not my friend this weekend. So Yeah. And today was a really weird day.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, or whatever.
It happens. But happy International Whiskey Day to you and to everybody else in the chat.
To you as well, sir.
Yeah. And it was I don't know. There's something tells me in the chat here there's a plant. A sentimental man knows the whiskey mariachi. I kind of think from that icon, I think I know who that is. I think that's Mr.
Possible.
Ray. I think it's very possible. But yeah, let's see. You're in there. Your girlfriend's in there. Jesse Page is in the chat. Miss Renita, Spencer. Think I'm missing anybody else? I can't think right now. Yeah. So this is it. People ask us questions. How was a whiskey mariachi born? I guess that's one of the questions. I mean, that really goes back to a much simpler time in a online community, starting in the YouTube chat and then working its way forward. I don't think it's one of those things. It's not like people say, oh, you couldn't make Blazing Saddles now. It's not quite the same, but I don't think whiskey mariachi could come to life now, as opposed to how it happened. What, 4 years ago?
Oh my God. It might have been even longer.
Wow.
Because it was, right? We had the mariachi band at the first Bastards Ball. So it was a thing before then. Oh, man. I'm old.
I'm older. So
good luck.
You're still in your 30s, aren't you?
Unfortunately.
See, you're just a young man.
My thing is, though, I turned old at 22 because every year before I was 22, I got better in some measurable way, right? Like I got taller, I got smarter, I got a better job, all these things. And then at 22, I was like dumber. I was not taller. Physically, I was worse. Like it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, I've peaked and everything is downhill from here.
It all goes down. I do want to say preemptively, because we've talked about this in the background, but for questions, people asking questions, because Mitch has a lot of experience. Not only did coopering for a fair amount of time. I mean, if you only coopered for a month, for God, that's still a lot of work. But the distiller for a extremely large distillery, one that reportedly puts out more bottled and bond products than anybody else. So Mitch is a wealth of knowledge, but we do have, Mitch is going to do a lot of questions on barrels coming up. That will be an upcoming series. But yes, please, if you have questions, we'll certainly try to answer them. Things like about about some of the whiskeys we've got behind us or something else, because this is just our topic tonight.
Yeah. There was an actual origin story for the whiskey mariachi. I'm pretty sure it involved like a confluence of like cigar smoke, large amounts of whiskey, perhaps some witches and a full moon. I don't remember all of it, but
there was a small Canadian Italian that did a luge. I know that.
It's been a while.
Yes. That's been a very long time. So, Mitch, what are you drinking on this fine evening?
So I am trying to drink through sample bottles so I can start sending them out. And I found a sample bottle from back in 2020, which will show you how long it's been. Speaking of OGs, hanging out at the Van Nesses, and who else? Brad LeClaire showed up and brought some JP Weiser's 35. So I am drinking JP Weiser's 35.
Very nice. That's very international. I'm drinking the Czech single malt Hammerhead 23.
All right, nice.
Which is really interesting. It's it's interesting in the whether the story behind it is 100% true or not. But If it is great, I'm not going to fact check it. All I know is I like its uniqueness. If it's really aged in Czech wood, along with being Czech single malt, I think that's even cooler. So, and it's attainable if someone wanted to try something weird. I think that's even cooler. Oh,
my bad.
That's okay. Nobody wants to hear me talk twice.
Opening that up so I could comment and whatnot, and forgot to turn the volume off.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm a professional, is what that's really saying.
So I'll start off a question because I want to ask you.
All right, go ahead.
So aside from your vast knowledge in the spirits world, you also went through the whether it's the right term or not, I don't care, but the sommelier program at Wizard Academy. And you have done how many levels have you done?
3.
You did. Oh wow, okay.
So they're coming out with 4 this year. I couldn't make it because unfortunately I'm at a new job and I don't get that much vacation. And the way it fell, it was just like, well, I'm sorry, I've already taken kind of my vacation for this year, so not going to make it. But so I'm a level 3 sommelier. I'm an executive bourbon steward through Moonshine University. I also went through their barrel aging class as well as their 6-day distiller course at Moonshine University.
Wow. So I'm just going to log off.
So I spent a lot of money learning a bunch of stuff. And then what do I do with it? I sit in my basement and talk about whiskey, right?
Yeah, I just drink and share stuff. Yeah. So, okay. So each of the sommelier levels, am I correct? Each one has a theme, more or less.
Yes. So, level 1 is kind of introduction to whiskey. So the way it works, right, was basically so to get kind of nerdy and technical and in-depth about it, the Whiskey Marketing School is a subsidiary of Wizard Academy, and Wizard Academy was started by Roy, whatever his last name is. My brain doesn't work right now. He wrote a bunch of books. I highly recommend reading them.
Roy Williams.
Thank you. Roy Williams. He wrote Pendulum.
Not the coach.
I watch so much sports that I know that. And one of his rules was if you work for him, you have to basically start your own passion project. And Daniel Whittington's passion project was whiskey marketing sucks, and we're going to help fix it. So he tried to come up with like how to fix it and all this stuff. And it became much too big for like fixing whiskey marketing. And it kind of turned into the sommelier program, because the first thing you have to do before you can market something is understand it. Because if you don't, understand what you're marketing, people can tell you're talking out of your butt, right? It's like when, what was it? Mankind. Who played Mankind in WWE?
Mick Foley.
Yes. So one of his first characters was like the Dude or something like that, who was a guy.
Dude Love.
Yes, and like he had the tie-dye and a skateboard and all that stuff, and it didn't go over that well because it really wasn't who Mick Foley was, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it just wasn't authentic. So level 1 is just kind of like your base introduction to whiskey, getting you knowledgeable enough in it that you can actually market it, and then teaching you marketing to a certain extent. It's really weird because right, I don't have the exact quote, but they basically teach you everything you know and then tell you not to say it, because they're like, if all you do is say what you know, you've turned into a shitty Wikipedia. Whereas if you know how to market, but if you don't know this stuff and you try to market, you're just inauthentic and worthless. And then level 2 focuses on American whiskey, because this is America, and America, F yeah. And then level 3 is world whiskey. So they focus on Scotch, Irish, and Japanese and Canadian whiskeys in level 3.
Okay. I'm going to get to Spencer's question. I'll answer this one first. I'm curious to admit, I am more looking forward to, and this sounds, I know I'm not the only one who said this, but it is actually what I do think. I'm looking forward to more American single malt, number one. I'm looking forward to more people embracing not just craft whiskey, but I'll say single barrels of craft and chasing that instead of chasing something with a horse on top of it or something that comes from one or two distilleries that everybody goes nuts for. Yeah. That's what I'm most looking forward to. What about you, Mitch?
Selfishly, I'm looking forward to going to Distill America this year. I've never been to the bourbon, whatchamacallit, ever since they started changing for it or charging for it. I only went once when it was free. In general, this is going to sound really bad, but I've noticed that a couple of the smaller distilleries are starting to close and like it's consolidating a little bit. And I'm kind of excited about that because when it was just a free-for-all, everybody could get in and they could put out whatever they wanted and they would be successful. And it unfortunately didn't necessarily mean everybody put out the best products. Now people are rising to the top and the people who didn't put out the best products are falling away. And I think that's a healthy thing for whiskey in America. And I think it'll keep happening through 2023.
Yeah. I think that, well, sadly though, there will be some people that are good distilleries that just didn't get the recognition or something else didn't go right for them, that things just didn't happen. And one which, way early on in us doing the show and back when, Ben was a part of it, he had brought one from a South Carolina distillery and we didn't get around to it. We had samples of it and we're like, all right, we got to get around to it. It's like, okay, hey, we're going to do it. And we scheduled it and we were going to do the sample from this distillery. We recorded the show that Monday night, or we did the show that Monday night. And it's from Crouch Distilling. And we're like, oh my God, this is, and I still remember from having that bourbon. It's like, this is one of the best bourbons that I've had. And Pat's or Ben was like, yeah, they're closing this Thursday. Casualty of COVID. Yeah. And he was able to get, he was able to get a bottle of it for me, which I have. I still have it unopened. I'll open it for something. But, you have places like that stuff just didn't work out,
I mean, it's a confluence of, two things like product and marketing, which is kind of the small useful thing. If you don't have both, it's a possibility.
Yeah. And I mean, the COVID times didn't help a lot of people with stuff. And the government didn't help people during that time. It didn't help distilleries. And some of them rose through it. I mean, locally we had, Rieger's. Rieger's didn't lose anybody at all, and they stepped up. And when they made hand sanitizer, they also put it, aside from giving away a ton of it, it was basically free will. It's like, here's a suggested donation, but it's free will, and people really came through and kept them afloat, and which is great.
And I was sorry jumping in, but you're talking about distilleries. I was expecting more to fail in that time frame and falter than what did.
I think a lot of people weren't they saying like 40%?
They were thinking like almost 60 at one point, and conservatively was 40, and I'm going to say probably 10 or 15 is what ended up happening, maybe. But I don't even know if that much. It seems like it came back stronger through it. Like, well, America likes to drink through hard times.
Well, and that's true, because I was one of the people that I had to go into work, because as my boss said, I had to be one of those people that went in every day so other people could go home and stay home. And which didn't make any sense, because I still remoted into everything I had to do, so it made zero sense. But I would get off work and come home, and there's a trail right by my house, a wide open. That's an old trolley trail that's been covered over, and I'd see all these families out there, and they closed streets down so people could get out in the streets and walk. I'd see these people, drinking, walking around at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like, screw you, man. And people's recycle bins would just be overflowing with the aluminum, because ours doesn't collect glass, but the glass recycling was it's just getting pounded, filling the big bins. Anyway, it was crazy.
Yeah, I worked for Heaven Hill and a logistics company when COVID started. So I went from working 7 days a week to working like 9 days a week because logistics exploded, distilling exploded. So I never once got like a day off because of COVID. Like, I ended up working more. And it was one of those things where it was like, I would have gotten a pay raise if I had gotten laid off. So I'm kind of mad that I'm working all these hours just to make less money.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to add another question here. This one's from People's third runner-up for Sexiest Man Alive, Kevin Rose. Pat, you can answer first. What's your perfect pour, the drink, the setting, etc.?
Oh, that is dangerous because it gets in like almost 3 different scenarios for me. But
Fireball in a porn theater.
Well, I mean, you got to start someplace. But no, I mean,
out of a brown paper stack.
Nope, that was the lotion.
All right. God, the perfect pour. Well, assuming at least 2 ounces of. I am gonna go with a Glengoyne 21 because I haven't had that in a really long time, and it was surprising, and I really liked it. And then I'm gonna go in like kind of like the old library feel, or like a parlor feel from like say the 1930s, or kind of that time frame. I just kind of like the atmosphere, and I think that would be one that I think everyone would enjoy and find pretty interesting in that setting. I don't think it's going to disappoint. It has a high age statement, and it's one a lot of people haven't had, but I think should rank far higher on their Scotch list by far. If you haven't had Glengoyne, go get some of the higher ones, and then hell, even get a 12 and tell me I'm wrong. So,
all right, Mitch, what about you?
Anything hanging out, smoking a cigar is really like my go-to.
Yeah, that's a cop-out, man. I had to think on the fly. You got to do it too. Pick something.
My favorite whiskey in the world is Four Roses Small Batch. It's cheap, it's available, it's delicious. I drink it all the time. I've never had to worry about getting it. My favorite cigar in the world is a Tatuaje Cajon 2012. I like smoking on my back porch when friends come over. So there you go.
Yeah, it's not a cop out now, is it, Pat?
No, see, but I want a little more. I just wanted a little more.
That's as much as I can get.
Yeah. Mine, perfect pour. It's not gonna be a specific whiskey, but my perfect pour, honestly, is to have with somebody else. It could be Scotch, Irish, bourbon, doesn't matter what it is. It could be, for God's sakes, could even be one of the craft gins that we've got. But my favorite time to have anything is in the company of somebody else, because 1, I think whiskey tastes better when it's shared. 2, whiskey tastes better when there's conversation involved. And 3, there's always memories involved with it. So that's it.
Can I include a fire?
Huh?
Can I include a fire?
A fire?
I like
fires are always good.
I think that kind of spurns the conversation. And if someone gets kind of lost and staring at something, they come back pretty easy.
Yeah. Now, I do have, on occasion, I call it fire pit therapy, where I will pour a glass and I will sit out by the fire pit by myself, kind of in my own thoughts, but that's not perfect. It's just something that I like to do, and it's relaxing. So, next one. I think it partially answered this. What's a shift you want to see in the next year in whiskey? A trend that needs to die. Okay, I'll say, and I have taken part in buying some of these, but some of the overly finished whiskeys. I have gotten some because I thought, okay, that sounds kind of fun. I could do something with that. I've done that. Something. Oh, barrel proof and it's finished in this. Oh yeah, it kind of sounds kind of fun. But I think it's kind of gotten out of hand with some more than others. Because then what are you? You're a flavor company, not a spirits company. And maybe that's your target, but I don't know. What about you guys?
So I'll go next because I 100% disagree. I love all of those things. Just all of the flavors all the time at max level. Turn it to 11. I'm totally down. I don't know. Like, it's just part of who I am. Like, also, I find it very interesting having been a cooper when you can finish something in different cooperage and get that wild of a flavor difference. It's probably, I'm going to blame part of it on that, but the other part is just like, I like candy and this tastes like candy. So
I wasn't talking about barrel finishes. I was talking about like finishing it in like, oh, this was a mostly wet Luden's cough syrup barrel. I mean, I'm talking, stuff like that. Those are the ones. Yeah. I'm all about trying out the different. I think the different woods are doing weird stuff like that. I think that's cool. But yeah, just the weird stuff. Yeah. This one's finished in NyQuil.
I mean, the best single barrel program in Louisville, believe it or not, I would say is Copper and Kings. And I probably have almost 20 different bottles of theirs finished in different things, from like different beer barrels to sherry butts to just whatever they had lying around. I'm sorry?
I was just naming fruit or other fruit finishes or the brandy, or could be any number of things when we were there. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, it's great. I love it. It changes everything so drastically. But I'm going to pivot real hard to what I want to see die or end in the whiskey. And it's going to sound pretty terrible, but like, for lack of a better word, toxic masculinity. Like, I am so tired of going somewhere and it being like a bunch of white dudes with beards who are like, I love whiskey, man. And it's like, yeah, it's great. Why are we the only people here? Like, maybe we can like get people who don't look exactly like me and y'all here. Like this is, like, kind of equal opportunity. We shouldn't look the same.
Guess I'm gonna have a different look for next week's show.
Wow. Okay.
I mean,
I do not disagree with you, because I have I don't go out to a lot of bars, because I have a problem with bars is that the prices that they charge for stuff. I'm for supporting people in the service industry. I think it's all great. But when you're charging the cost of half of the bottle or more for a pour, no, you're not doing anything for it. And it's been sitting there forever. So who knows what kind of condition that thing's in. So it's just, to me, it's like, it's a waste of time. But I also, as I have explained to other people, I don't like bros and tarts. And you go to bars, there's a lot of that. Now, I have gone, and this is anyone who comes to visit me, I will gladly take you there. I have gone there with my adult children. There is a sports bar not too far away from me that is gay owned and friendly to everything, but it is a sports bar. It is a 30 big freaking TV sports bar with really good food. And I like going to that bar because there are no bros or tarts. It's just a bunch of people at a bar eating food and playing trivia. And I like that. There's no crap. Nobody's hitting on anyone. No one's pulling any crap. There's none of that. Yeah. Any of that BS. And there's definitely none of that. There's none of the toxic masculinity there, which also I'm like, it drives me crazy when I see that. It's like, get over yourself.
There's a certain group of people that just ruin every hobby, and they're allowed in this community.
And I think there's like a subclass, because there's people who enjoy it, and then there's people. people who feel like they have to own it or be such a, I don't know, I don't want to say such a part of it,
Yeah.
but they have to feel like they're in control of it, the situation, and almost like better than other people around. And it's just, I just let people go. I just let them talk, and then all of a sudden, no, that's not what Todd Leopold said. Like at the end of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the same group of people that do ruin a lot of things. I mean, they ruin vehicle types. You know, for you like a certain vehicle, and you're like, oh, these douchebags are buying it. You know, no, you know, I can't because of this. You know, oh yeah, I don't want to go to this vacation spot because now this is where all the jackasses are going there now. So, yeah. Anyway.
Hey, wait! I didn't even get to give any, but that's fine.
Give it up.
No. Put that back up there. I don't want to forget it. Okay, I'm gonna go with one of the things I want to see change, and this sounds weird, but there are a lot of shows, a lot of groups, a lot of communities, and we all have top 5, top 10 lists at the end of the year. Just wait. I don't even know if you know where I'm going, but I love that you're excited about it. Or is it the
Elijah Craig barrel proof?
No, that's still not. I still love it. It's sad. I still love it, but whatever. No, it's that all these places will do barrel picks of all sorts of different people. But when it comes to the end of the year on all their lists, not a single one of the things they've picked ever shows up on their lists.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it should win, but if you're picking 20 barrels a year and you're tasting other things, don't you think maybe you might have found one of the 5 best ryes that year? Just a thought. I feel like there's, I don't want to say favoritism in it, but it's like this black spot. I don't understand that. It makes no sense. Because if you usually pick a barrel or a couple, it should land in your top 10. You know, if it doesn't, you didn't really do that great a job that year. You know, my thought in that. So I
agree.
I'd love to see and maybe you feel biased behind that, but too bad. It's one of the best things you had. Great, that's what it should be. You know, hell, 2 or 3 should pop up on your list in my mind. So yeah, I would love to see that just more population pop up through what's going on there. Like that's all.
Realistically, if you do a single barrel pick and the not single barrel pick of that is on the list, you failed.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just wanted a quick comment on Kevin. I believe I did not have a Kit Kat and Deer Hammer American single malt, but I will say you're probably 100% right because Deer Hammer is some of the most beautiful chocolate notes of whiskeys, and not sponsored. You can buy Deer Hammer online and get it shipped to you, probably. So do it.
Probably.
I'm not going to get
Sherrywood smoked Deer Hammer.
Probably.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Ooh. Pat, you have to go first. Who's someone you wish you could have a pour with?
Oh, okay. We're going to play the living or dead game first?
I think it should just be pick anybody.
Pick anybody. Right now, there's 2. This goes down a different path, but I'm going to go. I would love to sit down with Graham Hancock and have an evening of drinks with him right now. That's where I'm at. I've always been a history buff. There was a whole section that he's discussing that I learned about in the 90s and stuff, but it's great that most of it's coming to fruition now, and I would love to sit down with him and talk about that. So for right now, I think that's where I would go. So do I have to pick a bottle too? That makes it difficult, but
no, I think it's just someone.
All right, good deal.
Mitch, who you got?
Sir Terry Pratchett. He was an author of the Discworld series, which is a fantasy comedy series of books while simultaneously being one of the most insightful people in the world, in my opinion. So he'll have, a comedy about, oh God, there's so many to choose from, but like a beatnik police officer in a fantasy world, right? So he's like trying to take down trolls and, all these things and break up organized crime gangs, while providing just the best commentary. Like one of my favorite lines by him is, "It's too expensive to be poor," because this cop's name is Sam Grimes, and he's like, "I like cheap boots." Because after you wear cheap boots for 4 months, you start to wear the soles out, and you can feel the cobblestones. And I can tell where I am in the city by, the feel of the cobblestones. He's like, not like rich people. They buy boots for, $50, and they hold up tent for 10 years. I buy $10 boots. They hold up for 6 months. So I end up spending way more than a rich person would, and my feet still get wet in the meantime. And it's like, oh yeah, that's like, it shows the cost of being poor, while simultaneously you're thinking about, some dude who's like, like, I enjoy being nearly barefoot in a street in, medieval times while chasing down assassins and trolls.
All right.
I like
it. Mine's easy, and I'll just make it short. It'd be my wife. So I will leave that one at that.
Fair.
I have moved on to Old Fourth, the single barrel, and thinking of expanding your palate. My first introduction to Old Fourth, I tried on a whim from, also not sponsored, at Sealbox. Old Fourth makes a product called Lawn Dart, which is a lemon and ginger liqueur. Yeah, I hope that's a good face, because I'm telling you, this stuff cold, dear Lord, every time that I got one, I was giving them away for birthday presents during 1 year's time. I would buy them, and I was giving away for birthday presents, and every time one of them got opened, they were gone. And this stuff was like crack. It tasted like lemonade, and it was alcoholic. And it was great. But this is Old Fourth, it's Georgia. I can't remember if it's in Atlanta or it is Atlanta. But this is a pretty decent single barrel bourbon. So anyway, so yeah, expand your horizons, because you never know what you're going to find. Okay, so I'm gonna go see what else we got down on here.
That could be what I want to see happen and continue for the year for people, Mike. Expand your horizons.
Exactly. Well, you should.
Don't
I mean, I've been guilty of pigeonholing myself. I mean, I didn't, as much scotch as I used to drink. I went through a pretty good period, because I quit buying scotch because of the tariffs. I'm like, screw that. There's only I bought a couple from places that didn't jack up their prices immediately, and then I just hadn't bought any for a long time. And but then it's Burns Night this year. I had my annual pour of Timorous Beastie, and I'm like, I'm going to have another scotch. And I had, like, I don't know, a few different scotches, and I had a really nice scotch night. And I've done that for some other ones, and making the whiskey pickles, which, it's like, well, I should see which one of these peated scotches would be the one that I want to try with pickles. So I'm going to have some scotches. That I just didn't have any for a long time. So it was kind of nice to go back and revisit some of that.
I wonder if you could do like the whiskey and like a drop of like pickle juice from each of the different brines, because maybe that would make a difference to see where you'd be headed. Yeah.
I'd like to hear Renita's answer to that, because I'm sure it's, well, I don't know. I like hazmat, so I don't know what your man would like.
So, something that, I would go hazmat, something that doesn't taste like it, but then like all of a sudden later on the dude's just, you can tell he's affected. Even if he wants to act great about it.
Yeah.
Just give him a Malort back. Be like, this is kind of strong. So you drink this afterwards and it'll kill that burn.
Malort with 2 drops of Jägermeister.
Don't add Jaeger to anything. Ever. Oh, God. That is one of my least favorite things on the face of this planet.
Well, Do you know anyone looking for a Jaeger, brand new Jaeger branded shot chiller? My son has one in the box.
So we have.
It's small enough you can't use it for anything else.
It
has like 2 or 3 trays.
There you go. We have a bar here in Louisville called. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot what it was. It's on Lydia Street. Lydia House. There we go. I think that's it. They have either a Jaeger or Fireball chiller, but they don't have Jaeger or Fireball in. They have Malort and Angostura bitters chilling in it.
Dude, the
and you
bitters
can
could
get
be
a shot of either of them.
I don't know if I want a bitters, but like getting that in an old fashioned, I don't know. Or using the bitters that's like cold like that. Might be interesting.
You'd have to have a need for that though. That's just it. It's big enough. I mean, it's
I need it. Get on it.
It's 20 inches deep, about 12 to 14 inches wide, about 10 inches high. It's a small refrigerator is what it is. I mean, and so it serves no practical purpose. The other thing he has brand new in the box is a Crown Royal branded 4 bottle dispenser, but it is branded for Crown Apple and Crown Peach. Now, I've been places, sure, if you're throwing a party, throw 4 bottles on there, you got your spigot, it chills it and everything else. Someone's gonna want to have something like that, but still, he was like, "Do you want it?" Nope. Yeah. Emily, sell it to a frat house. They don't have any taste,
but they also don't have any money most of the time. That's the problem.
This is true.
Well, I don't know.
Sell it to a high school kid. They got more money.
They have a job.
I had more money in high school than I did in college. That's for sure.
Anyway, this Old Fourth, again, not sponsored, on seal box. Pick it up.
That being said, you mentioned Riegers earlier. I had my first one Thursday.
Which Rieger?
6-year bottled and bond.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we
the rye or the bourbon?
Pretty sure it was the bourbon.
Okay.
I thought it was lovely, like chocolate and cigar tobacco and I can't remember what fruit. But we have a bar here in town called Watch Hill Proper, and they are the largest American whiskey exclusive bar in America. So I have a habit of going there and then forcing them to open bottles that no one else has drank because it doesn't have a horse on top or something like that. So I got them to open 2, and then I revisited one that I knew I liked from previous, and then they had one that they recommended because they knew I liked weird stuff. And oh man, that Rieger was really good.
Yeah, they're normal Kansas City whiskey, which is made for cocktails. It's and it's fine. And they do a Christmas release. It's called Monogram that they do different finishes with. When they came out with that rye a couple years ago, that rye actually, I thought the rye was, and some people would say this is a bad statement. I thought it was a great craft rye because it was grain forward for a lot of the flavors to it. And it was real bready. And it was just really well done. And then when they came out with the bourbon, it was like, okay, I'm digging both of these quite a bit. And that rye, it came out the same year as 3 Chamber. So picking out my ryes, nothing was going to beat 3 Chamber that year. So certainly in the ryes, but the Rieger was pretty high up there for me. And I still have, I have 1 rye, and I just finished my bourbon actually this weekend of the bottled and bond bourbon. So, it's good stuff. I enjoy it. I have not toured there yet, and I need to do that.
But they're a neat company that went with Dave Pickerel come in, and then they kind of set up their profile. And then as they continued to expand, they stuck to what they wanted as a goal. It just seems richer than the original, which is what you're kind of going for as you progress to that point. But they made a very nice transition where other places sometimes just break and say, here, this is ours. Like they don't try to meld from beginning, like one brand to the other and kind of carry it over.
Yeah. And also Ryan Mabey is now the Missouri Craft Distillers Association president, who took over for Lynn from Edelbrand, because she was the president for like 3 years in a row. But yeah.
April 17th.
April 17th. Yeah. Edelbrand. Good times.
Yeah.
Favorite bottle based on aesthetics only. Ooh. I got to think about this.
Wow.
I think Mitch already has his answer. Maybe not.
I have no idea. I'm just turning around to look what jumps off.
Okay, wait. So I'm going to ask clarification. Aesthetics of the bottle only, or entire packaging, or label?
Wow, man. Now you're just getting, I think it's the whole.
Well, I want to know, because I mean,
you don't want to just guess.
Label wise, I could answer that with two right away. The old spirits and French lick stuff and anything from Crooked Water.
I think it's the bottle.
Okay.
I think it's like the glass shape for me is what I'm thinking, or maybe you include the stopper on top. If you need
she says everything all separate. Yeah. Okay. For me, it's anything with the horse on it.
What I got?
Well, actually, the bottle itself there is not a bad bottle.
No, I agree, but you got plain old bottle. Oh, that's cool looking.
There you go. Mm-hmm. There's one with a horse on it for you.
Let's make Mitch big.
Oh no!
Hold on.
Yeah.
No.
Who's that guy in the corner?
Come on.
You gotta drag him.
I gotta drag him to make him big.
Don't drag me. I'm trying to be nice.
I can't get to that. Where's banners? Friends.
This is how
there we
go. I am. I'm like, my arm is getting slowly more tired holding this. But yeah, so this stuff is wild. I bought it. God, I don't remember how long ago, because I was like, that barrel looks kind of cool, and it's a Kentucky thing.
Who is it?
It's Wade Lynn Ranch, if you can read that. So there is absolutely no info on the bottle, but it's distilled and bottled at Wade Lynn Ranch Distilling in Waynesburg, Kentucky. I've never been there. It says premium small batch, barrel proof whiskey. So I was like, man, this is going to be pretty garbage, because it's not even straight. It's 125 proof. I can't wait to just see what, probably like 1 year old barrel proof whiskey was. I tried it and I was like, oh, I need to go here. This is really, really good. And I bought this, I don't know, probably 2017, 2018. Still haven't been.
Maybe they're not there anymore.
It's entirely possible at this point.
Let me try to.
I don't know. I was thinking.
All right, so I've got three answers.
Yeah.
Label alone, the Glenmorangie flower edition, where they have that artist paint the flowers on the Glenmorangie tin. That is absolutely gorgeous. Bottle only, I'm going to go with Iron Root Republic. Love coffin bottles. Whole package, I'm going to say Peerless, because that super thick bottom and really heavy cork just really does it for me.
Okay.
Sounds like a pickup line.
On a different note of the bottle itself,
I like them thick.
Driftless Glen's bottle alone, because you have, it's a hand grip on a square bottle, and you have their fingerprints in it, which is cool for where your hand grips into it, which I think is neat. Label, I'm gonna go with what was that, Angels and something from Compass Box. I can't remember some of the releases that were like the Angels, and some releases was like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Just pick anything from Compass Box, and I'm probably pretty happy. Let's go Flaming Heart. I mean,
I was gonna say
Flaming Heart from a couple years ago looked like a painting from, Michelangelo's time. It was beautiful.
They also had Tobias and the Angel, which was literally a Renaissance painting they put on the bottle. It's like that is a little cheating, right? Like, hey, we want this to look beautiful. Can you design us a label that's beautiful? No, but we can steal one. Like, yeah.
And it's relatively cheap. Cheaper than you think.
It's in the commons. Yeah, no, I said mine for labels. For bottles, I really do like the Driftless Glen because it's simple, but also not because of those thumbprints. It feels really good in your hand. I would agree with you on Peerless. Also, the Jack Daniel's single barrel proof bottle is
that's
rather formidable. The one of my favorite though, like overall packages, which I wish more people would do this. Excuse me for making noises, but for the Ranger Creek 10th anniversary, and this is how they shipped you the bottle. Yeah. You got this aged in ore sleeve that you got to take apart, unscrew it, and then this, which I've got all the parts, this is what the 10th anniversary was this bottle. And then these 2 parts also are glasses. You got this really nice aged in ore decanter set as part of it for that, which I thought that was one of the coolest things for a package, because you got something along with getting a very special cast strength Ranger Creek. You got this sweet package set up, and that's still one of my favorites, hands down.
That's a boy to live, man.
Yeah. Now if I can put it back on straight.
All right, guys. I gotta jump off. My phone is going to die here. Plus it's pretty late, so.
You're supposed to say that in the beginning so you can get off of your call.
Yeah, well, it's happening now. So.
All right.
But coming up, we're gonna have a show with Alan, and we're gonna have a show with Edelbrand, Still America. I don't know. There's someone I gotta keep one quiet right now. There's one. What is that? Is that a mohawk back there? I don't know. We'll see. There's rumors. There's rumors out there. Things could be happening. Oh,
sure.
At least maybe for one show.
Sure.
So. All right. Well, I will see you guys next week. You guys have a good night. Thanks for stopping this evening. But I gotta get going. You guys have a good night.
All right. You do the same.
Take it easy, sir.
Have fun wrangling the young one.
He's probably half asleep right now.
All right. But yeah, this is still I still keep thinking, it's like, all right, now what do I want to use it for? Because it's a really cool glass decanter, and I'm not taking it camping. Because I have my very specific camping decanters and fishing decanters and flasks that I use. I'm sorry, I call this a decanter. It's a flask. And there's usually more than 2 people. So
I just bring bottles.
well, I mean, to a point, but like if you're going to go on a hike or something. So, but no, that was always one of my favorites for packaging. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite tater sticker?
It's not a tater sticker, but there's a group of people that go full tater here in Louisville, and they put Lego figurines on the top of their bottles.
Nice.
And they had a Cookie Monster bottle where they found a Lego figurine of Cookie Monster, and they put it on top of their bottle and like waxed it in. And I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want that bottle regardless of what it tastes like. Didn't get it because everybody else thought that, and they sold out. But they had another one that was like Butterfinger Crunch or something like that. So they found like a Lego Bart Simpson, and they put that on the top of it. And that's just like tater sticker wise, or just tatering it up. That's my favorite thing I've ever seen.
I've got mine because I actually have. Well, I'll show you the one, probably my favorite for many reasons. But this was a single barrel pick of 3-chord. But this tater sticker.
that's
which good. I loved it for many reasons. Also, I Nolan Ryan was great. But then locally, we had a local Kansas City group. This was done for a Jack Daniels pick, and I am also a big Tenacious D fan. So I was digging that one. This is very appropriate. But there's been some other ones. Let's see, try to think. Going through my list. Some really good ones from a local group did South Park. And I saw there's one I've got. I won't post it on there, but a take on Van Winkle, very old Van Winkle label, but it has Ric Flair on it. It says very old Ric Flair. And then Happy Hour Liquors in your neck of the woods has done some really cool ones, but they had one. I did not pick it up, but they had a I don't even know who the whiskey was, but the tater sticker was, if you liked The Office or watched it, it had it looked like a Civil War battle, but it was called the Battle of Schrute Farms. And that was the tater sticker. So a liquor store got in trouble here in Louisville because they did a tater sticker for the Derby winner a few years back that they got busted for possibly using illegal substances in the horse. The trainer is Big Brown, or oh no, the one Baffert.
Yeah, Bob Baffert.
Yeah.
So they had a sticker that was like a caricature of him with a big old needle, right, and stuff drinking, and it was called Bobby's Secret Horsey Stuff, and he sued the liquor store for it.
Oh, I hope it was a Blanton's bottle.
It was not Peerless, Pinhook. So it kind of worked out, right? Pinhook bourbon,
kind of, yeah,
horses,
close enough.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan of that, and it was great because, like, it didn't sell super well at the beginning because everybody was like, Pinhook, those picks are a dime a dozen, and then he sued, and they went from like, it took them a few minutes to sell out of it to like they're going for $600 a piece on secondary market.
All right, I'm going to finish on another Missouri bourbon, which was 6 years in the making. Ben Holiday.
That's the other one I had. Okay, sorry.
So, did you have the normal? This actually, and you have to send me a reminder. This is a single barrel pick of Ben Holiday. I've got the normal Ben Holiday, and then this is a single barrel one, which it's at 60%. Ben Holiday and Rieger came out at the same time. Two very different bottled and bond bourbons. Ben Holiday, for most everyone has heard of McCormick, or at least they have seen the McCormick corn whiskey in the little pot. McCormick, they did all the decanters and everything, but McCormick whiskey, not good. But I will say I did get a hold of some really old decanters of McCormick stuff, and a couple of them pretty darn decent. But these were from the 80s. But McCormick kind of died. Ben Holiday is a distillery. It's in the place. Luckily, the still was still there. Most of the buildings and everything were still there. They did it right. They brought the place up right. They didn't try to rush anything out. Where that distillery at, I believe, is on the same limestone shelf as Kentucky. I will also say that I thought, and this is not a knock against anything, but the standard Ben Holiday release, when I first tried it, I thought, this is a decent Kentucky bourbon. Is it didn't taste like anything that you would say, this is unique. Where's this from? Oh, it's from Missouri. I thought the Rieger was more unique, but I thought the Ben Holiday was I thought it was pretty solid, but I heard a lot of complaints about the cost because they were comparing it to cheaper Kentucky bourbon. But again, not a knock on it. And but the single barrel I like more. It does definitely have a lot more flavor to it. Curious what you thought of it.
So I didn't give it a fair shake because I had it against the Rieger 6-year bottled in bond, and then also Dancing Goat Chairman's Select single barrel. It was my least favorite of the three, but it didn't mean it wasn't delicious. I don't know if it was a single barrel, but it said 6-year 100 proof on the menu. So
no, that was probably their standard release because they waited for 6 years for it to come out. They didn't. I mean, it's many things. And again, the whiskey I think is fine. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. And I was totally cool with it, but
because I had
an idea about Missouri bourbon because for me, the Missouri bourbon that I had has been one. It was the Riegers because I think I had the Riegers first, but Wood Hat, and I mean Wood Hat is just a unique flavor experience that you're gonna do, and still 630 out of St. Louis had that, but Wood Hat, as far as flavor, that's pretty big shoes to fill. As far as I'm concerned. But again, whiskey is fine. And I hope to get up there and I hope to talk with them because I think that they did a lot of things the right way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The single barrel though of it, it's just, there's so much more chocolate and cherry on it. That it's and the proof it's 60%, but it does not at all drink like 60%. And it's just and they have a red winter wheat that's coming out too, which I'd really like to get a hold of.
So when I did that flight, it was the first one I tried, and I was like, oh man, this is really good. I'm super glad I got this. And then I had the next one, and I was like, oh man, this is really good. I'm super glad I got this. And I had the third one, and I was like, oh man, this is really good. I'm super glad I got this. So it's not a knock on them. It's just they got set up in a flight of like world-class whiskeys coming out of Wisconsin and Missouri. So felt kind of bad for them, but I was not upset about it, but it also goes for, I forget who said it, but don't try to make Jim Beam. Jim Beam makes the best Jim Beam for cheaper than anyone will ever make. Try to do your own.
And I don't think that they did. I think that they were using the old recipe from when it was made before, which again, nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But in a world where craft whiskey is going to be compared to Kentucky whiskey, you should either stand out from that whiskey to differentiate yourself. Because if you taste like Kentucky whiskey and you cost twice as much as that same bottle, that if it was a Kentucky whiskey, it's kind of hard to compete with that. But they seem to be doing well, selling all their stuff out, which I think is great. I think it's awesome that they had the old still on Vendome, redid them all. The buildings were still there. There's so much I think is really cool about the place. And again, the single barrel, I like it. So you have to remind me so I can get some samples going.
Well, I managed to empty 2 sample bottles tonight, so that's exciting.
That's always a good day. Yeah. And I was telling, so Spencer was asking about going the holiday because Spencer's in Nebraska, if I remember correctly. So yeah, in Weston, Missouri, which also has, we're not Louisville where you got this big capital of all of your things. I know in Omaha, there was a place called, I don't know if it's still around, called the Dundee Dell. That was a big whiskey bar before people really had big whiskey bars. I used to have one down the street from me that was great, and then it ended up closing up. But in Weston, Missouri is a place called the Celtic Ranch that has two things going for it. Aside from having a lot of Irish stuff that's there, you can get a drink poured while you shop, walk around with it. That's one thing. Two, you can get your certified whiskey ambassadorship done there because they also operate what they call the Whiskey Snug, which has a nice little snug for going down there and drinking, and they've got a pretty good selection of stuff. Also closer to me, which I've mentioned on here before, we have Brown's Irish, which is the oldest Irish business outside of Ireland, and it happens to be in Kansas City, Missouri, and they've got a lot of whiskey stuff as well. But yeah, Jesse, I will take you up on that because I want to get up on there. Oh, the Dundee Dell closed. Yeah, I'll have to hit that. But like for us around here, I mean, there really is not like big. We've got some whiskey places to go to around me, but obviously nothing like Watch Hill proper. And I think Bourbon's Bistro is its own animal just because of one, the food, and two, the picks, and or if you want to just drink something really old.
So we have a Dusty bar now in Louisville. That's what they specialize in. It's awesome. It's called Neat. I saw somebody post on that. Actually, she lived in Kansas City and now she's in Louisville. Little Dab of Bourbon. Yes. What's her face? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm terrible with names. Yeah, but she's a whiskey sommelier too.
Chrissy?
Yes. Chrissy.
Okay.
Chrissy.
Okay.
That place is awesome. Just right. Like basically you go in there and you're like, I was born in this year. What's older than that? And they're like this 2/3 of the room, man. And you're like, oh, this is the best, But I've had some absolutely wild pours out of there.
Reasonable for what you're getting though, or no?
Absolutely.
Really?
Especially,
okay, good.
Like they do have some that it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm sorry, I don't have that much money. But I drank them out of. They had a 1970s Johnny Walker Red that was $8 an ounce, and I straight up just was like, "How many ounces do you have left in that bottle?" And they were like, "Probably about 4." And I was like, "I'll just line them up. I'm here for the rest of the day. I'm not gonna drink anything else." But I forget some of the other stuff I've had there, but a lot of Heaven Hill products from the 80s and 90s, $10 to $15 a pour.
And that's great because you want people to come back. You don't want to attract the bros with the black card only, because who wants them in your establishment?
And then they have, older stuff where they have pre-prohibition bottles where it's like, if you're not willing to drop 4 digits, you're not gonna, be able to try this 1911 whatever. And then they have, and my favorite thing that they have, I've never done it, but they have swing bottles. So they're the 1 gallon bottles on the swing that they made illegal. So, they've got an old Granddad and then an old Fitz, on the swing bottle. And it's just
I have one of those as a decoration from Hill and Hill. Yep. I've got an old, a really, really old ancient age bottle, brown glass, but it's not a swing, but the Hill and Hill one I've got out as a thing. And I thought about repurposing it. I thought about clear coating it and repurposing it, but I'm not going to do that.
Well, lovely glare. I'm sorry if I angle this fine. Right. So my grandmother used to bottle for Glenmore. So I have this, found in the dirt somewhere, pint bottle of Glenmore from, Lord knows when. But it's got, a couple of fun little, gosh darn this glare.
Hold on.
It's almost so it's got the shoulder sticker there, if you can see. There we go. If you can see that. But, you know, it doesn't have the tax sticker, which would have had all the information on it, which is a shame. But then I've got a couple other ones that, you know, are so old they didn't even have stickers on them. Everything's just embossed on the glass.
Yeah.
Which, it's so cool. Like, I wish there was still stuff in them, but, you know, obviously it was like a $3 flea market find or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's probably a place like, you know, Justin's House of Bourbon probably has a bottle of that. But,
quite possibly.
But it's probably
at the very least
really expensive. Yeah. Yeah. Very expensive. Anyway. Well, it's fun. I'm going to pour a touch more of this. And damn it, I love a screw top.
Not a screw top guy. I break screw tops.
This is, I wish you could feel this. This is metal over plastic. It's a heavy screw top. The first release of the holiday, smaller plastic screw top, but this has got some heft to it.
So my problem is right, if I get real drunk, I forget that I'm like bigger than the average person. And I'll just be like, oh, gotta get this tight. Don't want it to leak. Snap, right? And then you break the seal and you're like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Whoopsies.
Yeah, the cheap tin ones. I mean, those are kind of hard to deal with.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, they have their own issues, but
That's what it is.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple things for you because we're over an hour here, but you know, earlier in the show you mentioned Brad LeClaire, and so our friend Bo Cumberland does a show with his brother called Building a Bar, and they pick a bottle and they talk about that one bottle and why they think that should be part of your bar. And Bo had an analogy that I really like because he said he's talking about Ancient Age, and he said Ancient Age is a better $10 bottle than Blanton's is a $100 bottle, which reminded me of what Brad used to say, because Brad's baseline was Ardbeg 10. And he would say Ardbeg 10 was whatever. Of course, it's in Canada, so, you know, they totally screw them. But let's say Ardbeg 10's $40. You're looking at a whiskey that costs $200. It's like, okay, is this worth 5 Ardbeg 10s? Mm-hmm. Which is, I think, a really good way to look at some of the purchases. Again, it's like, all right, I can buy 5 of these, or I could do this. Same thing with Bo. I thought that was both very good analogies for trying to justify to yourself, not to others, because you shouldn't have to justify anything to other people, but justifying to yourself your purchase. So
I ran into someone who had just bought a barrel seagrass, and he loved it. He was just, all about it. And he's like, so I saw they have like this super expensive gray label one. And I was like, yeah. Like I saw it at, like Liquor Barn or something the other day. It's like $425. And he's like, is it worth $425? And I was like, well, if you like the original Seagrass, it will be better. More than like it will be. And it stops being a question of, is this worth this much money, and starts being more of a question of how much money is this worth to you? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, is it good whiskey? Yes. What are you willing to spend on good whiskey? Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you're like, I like good whiskey and I like spending $50 a bottle, no, it's not worth it. Don't get it.
Yeah.
If you're like, I like good whiskey and my whiskey budget is, like $1,000 a month, yeah, grab it.
Yeah,
it's totally worth it.
Or, I mean, and Seagrass is $80-$85. So yeah, you could look at that and say, all right, I could buy 5 bottles of Seagrass, which I really like, or I can take a chance on this one.
Unfortunately, you have idiots like me who's like, I could drink every day for the rest of my life and not quite make it through all of this. So it stops being about how many of these can I buy and how much enjoyment will I get out of this, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't, it's been a while since I've gotten anything new. Although today I did buy from is a local group that promotes rehoming. And even in the event that you tried something, you bought a bottle, you opened it, wasn't your thing, rehoming it to somebody who, might want it. So anyway, there was somebody had wanted, they had tried the Leopold Three Chamber Holiday Edition 2021, wasn't their thing, was not the rye that he was expecting. Also had Kings County Empire Rye. Both of them had been opened. Both of them had a pour out of them, and in both cases, just like, it's not my thing. So those I did get, not through a retailer, but through somebody who was like, hey, here's the thing. Things were traded, stuff like that. I gave him a box of number 2 pencils in exchange for those, but yeah, there was no retailer involved. But anyway, that was my last.
The last thing I bought was a Costco Scotch. They had their 18-year-old single malt, and here in Louisville, they only get very few in because it's bourbon country. So when I see it, it's like, okay, if I don't buy it today, I'll never get it again.
It's pretty good.
It's such a good value if you like sherry, like such a good value.
Yeah.
So, but thinking there are, I think, maybe 6 whiskeys that I've ever bought multiples of. And that's about it. Because to me, it's all about exploration and like trying that new thing, finding that next new flavor, and less about having like a go-to that you're like, I'm always going to, go back to this.
I'm not too far off of that. There's only a couple that I have had multiples of. And for a couple of reasons. One, because I can't get them around me, or I have to order them somehow, or, whatever. But both of them are from your neck of the woods. One of them, Matty Gladden. I always try to have a couple of those because I really like Matty Gladden, and I cannot go down to the store and go buy Matty Gladden. But if I could, I would get that one all the time. Another one, Glens Creek OCD 5. I like Glens Creek stuff. There's just that very unique buttery note to it that I like, but that OCD 5 is just like, this is just fun. And I like it, but you cannot get it around here. So that's one I've had multiples of. I'll actually take back. Other than that, the other one, when Jim Beam Repeal Batch came out, it's fine. It was fine, but then nobody was buying it. And even my grocery store down the street was clearancing it out for under $10 a bottle. So I bought like 3 or 4 bottles because it makes pretty good Manhattan.
How could you not?
And as did Old Tub. People weren't buying Old Tub, but that Jim Beam Repeal Batch for under $10. Like, I will get that because, again, you're throwing that in a cocktail. It's pretty darn good.
So let's see here. I'm just trying to think of all so I don't count single barrels as multiples, right? Like if I buy something and then I buy a single barrel, it's like I'm expecting something different. Like this is part of my exploration.
That's fair.
But my ex, one of her favorite drinks was Weller Special Reserve. And if I could find it at retail, it was like, yes, please drink this $20 bottle of whiskey rather than, one of these not $20 bottles of whiskey. So I have, I think I had 3 of those. Eagle Rare, I think I have 2. Just because my original bottle was getting low, and I was like, if I ever see another one, I'll pick it up. Found it one more time. I was like, all right, I'll grab that. So it's going to sound bad because these are all Buffalo Trace products, but also E.H. Taylor. I have 2 bottles of that because I had it and I was like, I like this, but I am never spending more than like $30 or $40 a bottle on this. So whatever. And I saw it again for, $35, however long ago. And I was like, I'm probably never going to see this again. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. And then other than that, unless I buy 2 bottles like the day I'm there, I think that's about everything that I've ever bought multiples of.
Yeah.
Which is
There's things that I've regretted not getting multiples of. Like some single barrel ones that I've gotten. And I was like, oh, I wish I'd have gotten another one. But that, Great Northern Rye, that we sampled, Pat picked up 1 bottle for me and I was like, oh, I wish I would have asked for a second one. But at the same time, it's a unique experience. So,
I mean, I've got enough that I should be able to like.
I know, same here. It's
Right.
like, I don't need it. I haven't been spending money because I don't need to. I can, I don't drink every day and I'll never get through all this. So,
I'm
which is not a brag. It's self-pity. Yeah. So
I mean, this has brought my drinking days up to about 2 a week, right? So, it's going to take me a while.
Yeah, and it's not worth drinking every day. So, I mean, you can if you want. Do you, man?
Once I retire, man, it's going to be all about like drinking and cigars. It's like, what'd you do today? Well, I drank and smoked cigars. So, what are your plans for tomorrow? Drink and smoke more cigars, right? Day after that, high chance of drinking and smoking some cigars. And then, like, you ever going to sober up? It's like, yeah, I drink water.
Yeah. When I sleep. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll call it. And we have, like Pat mentioned, we do have coming up. Elbrand will be on. We know Alan's going to be on with something. Old friend of the show, Miss Nancy Fraley. She's going to come back on again. And then we will have a series with Mitch talking about barrels, which I think is going to be a lot of freaking fun to talk about that. And learn with that. And then I know we're working on a corn. I think it might be a blind corn whiskey challenge. Because I know we have an apple smoked corn whiskey made by the Bishop. And then one from Wood Hat. And I don't remember what the other one is that Pat's got. So those will be coming up. Trying to think of if there's anything else, but no, that's where we're at now.
Are we going to blind them all against mellow corn? Because I feel like that would just be.
I mean, it really wouldn't be a bad idea.
I mean, right? Like, here's the baseline. Like, is it better? Is it worse?
And McCormick's Platte County Moonshine and the. I mean,
right, it works.
I mean, we can. There's nothing wrong with it. So anyway. All right. So I will. All right. Well, Renita's going to be your son's Army basic training graduation. Well, congratulations for that, and thank him for doing that. Hopefully, he will fill his mama's shoes well, and his big sister. But anyway, all right. I will start the process here, signing off. But whatever Pat says, but. Thank you all for asking questions while we do this and talk about that. And Mitch, it's good hanging out with you as always.
Nice seeing you as well, sir.
All right, everybody, have a lovely evening. Cheers.
Cheers.